Achieved with CryEngine.
Hand it to Rashida. We cut off all of her limbs, but she's still wriggling and desperate. She secured the nukes from Dragovich, and, with her conventional forces depleted, she needs those missiles to win any war. The fallout will pollute the region's oil supplies for generations, and the global economy will collapse. We track them to storage facilities in the port of Hassan. We need you to plant charges on each missile. Their guidance systems were en route, but the convoy was taken out by rebel forces. It's sitting at the bottom of a ravine. If you can retrieve a command ship, we'll know who she was targeting. We still don't know exactly where Dragovich got those nukes from, but they passed through a train yard close to the port. See if you can recover any evidence from the freight office. And last but not least, we can no longer leave Rashida in power. She's resisting calls for free and fair elections and has rounded up the leaders of that movement. They're somewhere in the presidential palace. Get them out if you can. While you're there, you can pay a visit to Rashida herself. Send my in the upper part of the palace.
Roger that. Rashida's quarters are in the presidential tower. Keep heading up and you'll find it. She's usually covered by a security detail.
That's
Control. I have overwatch on the crash site.
Sweep the wreckage. The control chips may be underwater. It's vital we retrieve that data. We must determine the target location.
Are we sure the chips are still on site?
That's uncertain, but Rashida's forces took control shortly after the crash. There was little time for any cargo to be removed. You only need to retrieve one.
I'm lucky for them.
But lucky for us.
Time for a swim. I have a command chip.
Excellent. Now exfil before anyone else comes looking.
Starting recon.
Roger that. Rashida's quarters are in the present. Head to the marked location for more information.
Control. I have overwatch on the crash site.
Sweep the wreckage. The control chips may be underwater. It's vital we retrieve that data. We must determine the target location.
Are we sure the chips are still on site?
That's uncertain, but Rashida's forces took control shortly after the crash. There was little time for any cargo to be removed. You only need to retrieve one.
Unlucky for them.
But lucky for us.
Time for a swim. I have a command chip.
Excellent. Now exfil before anyone else comes looking.
Control, I'm on the ground.
Head to the marked location for more information.
Control, I have overwatch on the crash site.
Sweep the wreckage. The control chips may be underwater. It's vital we retrieve that data. We must determine the target location.
Are we sure the chips are still on site?
That's uncertain, but Rashida's forces took control shortly after the crash. There was little time for any cargo to be removed. You only need to retrieve one.
Unlucky for them.
But lucky for us.
I have a command chip.
Excellent. Now exfil before anyone else comes looking.
I thought they fixed it last week.
The other soldiers. Point them out.
Not far. Over there.
Damn, you gave those boys up fast.
Look for them!
Control, I have overwatch on the crash site.
Sweep the wreckage. The control chips may be underwater. It's vital we retrieve that data. We must determine the target location.
Are we sure the chips are still on site?
That's uncertain, but Rashida's forces took control shortly after the crash. There was little time for any cargo to be removed. You only need to retrieve one.
Lucky for them.
But lucky for
I
us.
have a command chip.
Excellent. Now exfil before anyone else comes looking.
Please, don't kill me.
Then tell me where the other soldiers are.
There. That way. Open fire! We got a dead fucking soldier here! They're shooting on us!
Base! Enemy contact in sector 40! Clear! Quebec 1-1 to base! I hear shots! Copy. Dispatch all squads! Flanking! Out! Report back in 5. Out. HQ, this is Alpha 1-6. We've lost sight of Tango. Clear. Copy that. Resume sweep for Tango's location. Out. Tango 3 to base. I heard an explosion. Zone 3 or 4 approximately. Clear. Roger that. Mobilize squads. Search for hostiles. Out.
plenty of tours in the Middle East, but never came here.
The Alpha. Avoid the attention of Western governments. No need for foreign troops.
Until now.
Well, Rashida has overreached. If she'd stayed within her borders, you wouldn't be making a house call.
All this because her own government is unsure about having a female president.
They've all been in charge for too long. Once Rashida is eliminated, elections are inevitable.
Let's hope so. Raven out.
Search for them! Hurry! Kill them!
McNally is no more.
Well done. One less bad guy. You can exfil safely now. Check your map.
HQ, we have eyes on Tango. Clear. Copy. Report when Tango is down. Out. Kilo 5 to base. We lost him. Awaiting orders. Roger. Search for the hostile. Base, this is Foxtrot 3-1. Tango's location acquired. Over. Copy. Lethal force authorized. Out. Uniform 1, we lost the enemy. HQ, we have eyes on Tango. Clear. Juliet 1-2 to HQ. We have his location. Clear. Sierra 1 to base. We can see the hostile. Clear. Sierra 1 to base. We can see the hostile. Clear. Roger. Fire at sight. Out.
Raven, Control here. Satellite tracking shows 3 locations for the missiles. I'm sending you coordinates now.
Roger.
You need to plant C4. Leave any missiles behind.
I'm on it. Stand by.
Not this time.
I'm at the train yard.
Good. Personally, I'll find an OP, scout out patrol routes, and plan your entry point. The freight office should have documents that'll tell us where the missiles were shipped from.
I have tangos in the buildings and out in the open. Looks like they're expecting trouble.
After all your work, security has been tightened at all critical locations.
This might be where they keep the bill of lading.
Yeah, could be the freight office. Just watch out for any security cameras.
It might be a good idea to disable them before proceeding. eyes on the officer. He said he should be the one carrying a key card to the freight office.
Indeed. Now you need to figure out a way to get to him.
That's the easy part.
Awaiting orders. Hard copy. Investigate the area, report back. Out.
Keycard.
Get in that office and find that cargo manifest.
Like a cargo manifest.
Does it specify materials and origin?
Roger. There's clear reference to nuclear materials and the route they traveled.
That's the confirmation we needed. Good work. Raven, I have a new target for you. Head to the marked location for more information.